I'm Jooya from Jooya Teaching Resources, and welcome to this video. I'm going to quickly show you, well, I shouldn't say quickly, it's going to take a while to show you tonight, how to write about ornamentation in melody, okay? So ornamentation is an aspect of melody, and if you're talking about a melody, like we all hope that the melody isn't just plain and simple. I mean, it works sometimes, but most of the time it has something that makes it unique, something that gives it a little bit extra flair or something. So it's an important aspect of a melody, and the best thing is what I love is when you show melody and about ornamentation is to relate it back to the students and go, how can you actually use these techniques in your own performances? So what you're listening to, what can you use? What can you actually add to your own performances on your instrument if you're going to try and make this something your own? Okay, so that's what we're talking about tonight, is melody and more specifically ornamentation. And I really wish I would stop getting those notifications. Hang on, I'm just going to try and get rid of that. And let's do that. Oh, geez. Geez, Louise. I forget every time to do this. And nearly there. Sorry about this. Okay. All right. That should not interrupt me now. Okay. So I'm going to I'll try again. I'm going to start sharing my screen and then we'll get started. And as I said, I'll just take you through what we're doing tonight. Okay, so famous last words, sharing screen. Here we go. So you should be able to see that tonight, which is really good. I'm just going to put myself up there so you can't see it. Okay, so again, you know, I'm all about writing about music, and we've been talking about the music scaffold, which is something I came up with a while ago, and it works. I just had some kids actually finish a Viva Voce today, my year 11 students, and they had to compare two versions of the same song. And I asked them to use this scaffold, and the kids that used the scaffold, it really works. The kids that didn't, it was evident that they didn't know and they didn't actually try. It just was evident that they didn't get it, okay, which is a shame. So despite the number of lessons we had worked on this and whatever else. So welcome. Tonight I'm going to again talk to you about what is music, and as I said, it's not music as such, but music, M.U.S.I.C. I'll give you an explanation of music scaffold. I'll show you actually a student sample and then an edited student sample, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. So let's get going. So music stands for main musical idea, understanding of that idea, specific samples, in-depth information, and connect to concept or question or connect to element, whatever it is that you're actually discussing. I apologize if I use the word concept, but where I teach, I actually talk about the concepts of music and not about the elements of music, even though they're basically the same thing, different name, just things are slightly under a different umbrella. Okay, so the main musical idea, the M in music stands for that. So it says, I'll just get rid of that, introduce the main musical idea or point that you will discuss and analyze. So essentially, what are you going to talk about, introduce it, and that's all it is. What do you have a focus, I suppose, is the best thing. So have a focus about what you're going to talk about or write about, okay? U is for understanding, and that means show your understanding of the main musical idea and define it. Okay, so basically, we're going to be talking about ornamentation. So ornamentation, then define what ornamentation means. The next bit is S for specific samples. Now, specific samples and the in-depth information, now both of these, you can just keep repeating them. It can be music. I don't mind how many bits you have of a sample information. In fact, I'd rather there be more samples and information backing up what you're trying to show and what you're talking about. Okay, it's much better idea if you can do that. And if you've got my oral question cards, which are available on Teachers Pay Teachers, you'll see that for each element, each thing we're talking about here, I actually have a series of questions. And hang on, I'll just grab a set. If I can find a set, sorry. Here we go. Here's a set. Oh, if I hold it here, there's a set there. Okay, and if we go to pitch, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and ornamentation, and I'll try and get that question. Oh, Sorry, it's there, but there's the questions, all the questions I get my kids to talk about. Okay, so specific samples, describe a specific musical sample to support and show your understanding, state when and by what instrument, okay? And then the in-depth information, provide information and explain or define any musical terms or events in detail. Make sure that your information is relevant to the question and the concept. And then the last thing is connect to concept or question, or connect to the element of music. So connect your analysis to the concept or element being discussed in your answer, and make sure you maintain a focus on the question and concept. So that's a really brief overview thing, but I'm going to go into a bit more detail and show you exactly what that means and how this works. So again, if you want any more information, pop over to my Teachers Pay Teachers store. I actually do have a fantastic product called the Pitch, Writing About Music Pitch, and it goes through this in depth. Okay. Alrighty. So music example. So this one that I'm about to show you is based on an example of Cow Boogie performed by Ella Fitzgerald. And I know there's another male voice in there. And my question to my kids was discuss the use of pitch, but I'm just focusing on the element of melody, which is ornamentation, a part of melody. Okay. So let's have a look. This is, as I said, a student sample. So here's the sample here. I'll just make that a little bit bigger so you can read it. Okay, so this was the student sample. Actually, what I'll do is, hang on, let's just duplicate that. And I will get rid of that underneath. It'll be easier to see. So you can see this is the student sample. All right, and I'll just make that smaller again before I come back to it. Okay, so here's the student sample. So ornamentation, they've written that at the top. Now, please note that after I used this scaffold after I'd actually taught this group of kids, because I realized there was a few things actually missing from their answers. So here's an example. So ornamentation. A turn is performed by the trumpet in the bridge. Vibrato is also performed by the female vocalist on the words songs, much, accent, raised, and call in the chorus. And the male vocalist, in brackets tenor, also performs vibrato in the third verse on the word long. As well, the trumpet performs vibrato, in the bridge. Now, she's talked about ornamentation. She hasn't necessarily talked about ornamentation in the melody as such. She's talked about ornamentation used by lots of different instruments. Now, she's told me that what the trumpet has actually done a couple of times. She's actually said that they use vibrato. Okay, didn't explain vibrato, but that's okay. But again, very specifically has told me what words, what lyrics, okay, that that vibrato is actually used on there. So there's a lot of good information there. However, sort of lacking a little bit, okay? And again, please note that this student, I wasn't using this scaffold until after this. And actually, I developed this scaffold as a result of this kid, this student, because they were actually doing Viva Voces, which is for my kids, means they have to analyze piece of music, whatever their choice is, and they have to come at it from some angle and then talk about it with an examiner, and they have to provide samples, music samples, to back up what they're actually talking. So it's basically what we're doing here, but it's actually about speaking about it. And I suppose what I'm doing is a bit like a Viva Voce, but they've got a 10-minute limit, which again, my kids were doing today. So I listened to a few of them the last few days. All right, so here we go. So let's have a look here. So again, that's the sample that the student had, but let's just see, we're going to put it into more of a music sample. Okay, so using that music scaffold. So remember, we're looking at main idea, understanding, sample, in-depth information, connect to concept, or connect to element, or connect to question. That's what we're looking for. So ornamentation. Now, there is, I should say as well, for my kids, in the particular exam they are doing, when they're writing about music, they can write in point form or in paragraph form, however they actually want to do it. Now, it's actually very much quicker to write in point form. I do teach my junior students how to do this in paragraph form, because it's a writing skill that something, a focus we're doing across the school. So that's why I do it that way. And then once I get them into senior school, year 11 and 12, we pull it back, and it's up to them what they actually choose to use. So ornamentation, the fancy bits added to the melody make it interesting. So simply saying what ornamentation is, just that's the main idea, and then just add a little bit of a definition. Then the points here are all about that sample and in-depth information. So a turn, a rise and fall around the main pitch, is performed by the trumpet in the bridge. Vibrato, in brackets, slight wavering of the pitch, is performed by the female vocalist on the words songs, much, accent, raised, and call. These all occur in the chorus. Okay, so we've just added a little bit more there to what this student had already written. Vibrato is also performed on the male vocalist in the third verse on the word long. The trumpet uses vibrato at the end of phrases in the bridge. And then the last thing there is the use of vibrato by each of these instruments adds to the melody, making it an interesting use of pitch, or interesting use of ornamentation is something you could do there, because as I said, we are talking about ornamentation, but I get my kids to link it back to the concept we're talking about. So depends on what you're actually writing and what you're referring to. But let's have a look at how this actually looks when we talk about using that music scaffold. So this is now taken what the student has written and then made it into a music framework, okay? Music framework. So here we go. So it's already done that, but let's see the colors so you get the idea. So again, here's the student sample, main idea, understanding, sample, in-depth information, and connect to concept. So this here should be orange. I'll fix that up. Okay, so ornamentation is the main idea. And then the definition of the understanding, showing the understanding of that, is the fancy parts added to the melody to make it interesting. So this is, I'll make that, sorry, I'll come back to that. It's actually in-depth information. And so, okay, a turn, a rise and fall around the main pitch is performed by the trumpet in the bridge. So that is your sample and in-depth information. So in this one, it's saying when it happens by the instrument in the bridge. So we could have actually said in the bridge, the trumpet performs a turn, which is a rise and fall around the main pitch. Okay, I just made it backwards there. So that's the in-depth information and that is the sample. Okay, vibrato. So again, this is your in-depth information. It's talking about all the defining what vibrato is. Sorry, that was hard to say. Vibrato, a slight wavering of pitch, is performed by the female vocalist on the words songs, much, accent, raised, and call. These all occur in the chorus. So again, that is that sample. So again, the female vocalist performs vibrato on the lyrics, blah, 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 and also when it actually occurs. And then there's that definition of vibrato. Vibrato is also performed by the male vocalist. So again, a specific sample in the third verse on the word long. Okay, so again, that's that more information. The trumpet uses vibrato at the end of phrases in the bridge. So again, this is all that specific information. So the ornamentation that we could actually hear in this particular example, don't forget, I will link it in down below in the if you're watching this on YouTube. So that is the specific examples, is all that red, and the in-depth information is just defining what it's talking about. So there's really only two things that we're talking about here: a turn, okay, which is rise and a fall, and it's, I said that's played by the trumpet in the bridge section. Then it's talking about a lot of ornamentation, which is vibrato, and again, the samples are the fact that it's by the female vocalist on those particular lyrics in that particular section. Okay, and again, the trumpet also does it at the end of phrases in the bridge. Again, it's saying what it is, when it is, what instrument's performing it, and as I said, when it actually happens. And then the last bit there is that connect to concept. The use of vibrato by each of these instruments adds to the melody, making it an interesting use of pitch, or as I said, we could say ornamentation. Let's do... Okay, ornamentation. All right, so you get the idea. So again, we can see the different colors there represent the different sections. And you can also see that it doesn't matter if you put the I before the S. Okay, you can do that if that's how your brain works. But for most kids, if you're doing this, I would suggest you give a sample, then explain what the sample means. Okay, as I said, I was trying to use what the student had already written and base my, I wouldn't say improvement, but my expansion of their answer into the music form. Okay, so what I'm going to do though is I'm going to show you what this actually could look like if we were going to do this as, I'll get rid of that, if we're going to do this as a paragraph, okay? So essentially we're using this same thing. All right, let me get rid of that as well. And let me just make this a little bit bigger. All right, so essentially a paragraph is just talking about making things into sentences. So ornamentation in music means, or is defined by, I might write that, is defined by, or defined as, that might be the better words, defined as the fancy parts added to the melody to make it interesting. Okay, full stop. That's it. So I turn, and I'll put a comma there, which is a rise and fall around the main pitch, and then another comma, is performed by the trumpet in the bridge. Make that. There is a lot of use of vibrato. Okay. Vibrato in the excerpt. I might say that. Vibrato. Oh, what did I do that for? Vibrato. The excerpt or music. Okay. Vibrato means, oh, typing again. Vibrato means, I'm just going to take that bracket out, slight wavering of a pitch. This technique is performed by, so this is again the sample, so I'll make that red now. This technique is performed by the female vocalist on the lyrics or words, songs, match, accent, raise, and call. I'm going to put a comma. These all occur in the chorus. Okay. There is also, oh, actually, I might get rid of that. Sorry, I should have already said that. There goes a train. Vibrato is also performed by the male vocalist in the third verse on the word long. And then again, the trumpet uses vibrato at the end of phrases in the bridge. And our last bit there, the use of vibrato by each of these instruments adds to the melody, making it an interesting use of ornamentation. And there you go. So there you go. So again, I'm just going to make that a bit bigger so you can see it easier and justify it because it looks better. What can I? No, it's too big. All right. So you can see there now, again, going from, let's look at this sample here. That's what the student had written. So again, the information is all there. It's just, we just expanded on it and given it a bit of oomph. Okay. So again, if I just read what we've got here. So again, this is the same thing using the music scaffold. Again, remember the pink is the main idea. The orange is the understanding. The green is the in-depth information, and the red is the samples, and the purple there is the connect concept. Okay, so ornamentation in music is defined as the fancy parts added to the melody to make it interesting. A turn, which is a rise and fall around the main pitch, is performed by the trumpet in the bridge. There is a lot of use of vibrato in this excerpt. I should actually get rid of that capital. In this excerpt, vibrato means a slight wavering of a pitch. This technique is performed by the female vocalist on the words songs, match, accent, raised, and call. These all occur in the chorus. Vibrato is also performed by the male vocalist in the third verse on the word long. The trumpet uses vibrato at the end of phrases in the bridge. The use of vibrato by each of these instruments adds to the melody, making it an interesting use of ornamentation. And again, you could change what that is. And I was just trying to sort of write in the same flow as what the student was actually doing there. But again, that's, as I said, just using that music scaffold. So just to remind you, M stands for main musical idea, U stands for understanding, S for specific samples, I for in-depth information, and C is for the connect to concept or connect to element or connect to question, up to you which one it is. Alrighty. So you can find plenty of these classroom resources ready for you to use today over in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. And you can use the link in the description below to find my store, which is simply, if you go to the Teachers Pay Teachers, you'll find me simply by typing in Jooya Teaching Resources. Okay, so if you'd like a free copy of the Elements of Music mind maps, which if you've been watching these videos, I use these a lot in my classroom, use the link juliajooya.com/free mind maps, all smooshed together. Now, the other thing I want to show you before I go too far, let me see if I can find it. I've got these out before. Sorry. So, all right. So, if you go to, I'll show you in a minute, but this, what I was talking about in terms of the writing about music, alrighty, is writing music analysis, writing about music. There it is. Okay, this book here has lots of fantastic information and shows you and literally gets you through all of the things for pitch, which I call it pitch. Everyone else calls it something different. Again, you can see that there's in here. I'm going to turn my screen thingy back off. Hang on, I'll just stop share for a minute. I will stop share and I'm going to go here, get rid of that background, even though it's pretty, it's annoying me. Okay, so I'll go back to there for the moment. Okay, all right, so here we go. So this is pitch. So you can see this is the mind map. I use them, okay, all the time. There it is, pitch. Okay, but I said melody. And the thing is in here, what it does is I go through all the explanations of everything. Then we break down a sample using the music scaffold, as you can see there, and lots of examples for everything. And also then you'll see that there's a point form. See, there's a point form example, as well as a paragraph example for everything. All righty, and that one's just on melody. I get my kids to actually highlight the different sections. They know what they're doing, and the kids that do that are doing really well. Now, again, that is available in my store, but if you also want to, you can get a free copy if you do this. So if you go over to juliajooya.teachable.com, you'll find that I have a writing about music course, and these books are all in there, plus about 100 odd videos of me explaining everything that you ever need to know about all this stuff, all about the concepts of music. So it's in there. If you were looking for it, go and have a look. It is really worth it. I said, I've got music samples, you name it, it's in there. It's massive, and it's a really good price. So as I said, that you get all the books, the concepts of music books in there as well. But as I said, I'm just talking about pitch today, or melody, or ornamentation. But if you'd like, for free, to find more information about melody in music, go to my blog, juliajooya.com. And if you go to the Elements of Music tab, when you go there, there's a whole heap of stuff in there, and it talks about all the different elements of music. And if you go to melody and click on that, you'll find, again, a whole heap of information. Also on my channel here, you can see that I've got a stack of information as well about melody, and I talk about what's actually in that blog post is in that in the YouTube clip as well. So thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a bit of a long one tonight, but hopefully you've got a lot out of it. So let me stop share. So again, thank you. I'm Jooya from Jooya Teaching Resources, and you can see my background here. I'm, as I said, a music teacher. I do all this stuff all the time. In fact, I was doing some of this. I said my kids were talking about doing comparisons this morning in their Viva Voces, and that was year 11. And then I had my year 7s. Actually, we're doing a comparison. We started today. We're going to finish it tomorrow, just to get them going on it as well. So again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to check what's in the description below if you want any more information, or go and find me on those things. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, as you can see, YouTube, and Teachers Pay Teachers, as well as my blog. So you should be able to find me somewhere pretty easily. Okay, again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.